here for another hour at least. I've probably said enough. As it's no secret that my mom is the true heart and soul of everything we do, certainly this organization, but the decades of work. On that note, I'd like to bring back on the stage my mom's first rescue, my dad, Tony.
Elaine's had some second thoughts about that. This is a PS. You know, our family's been involved for so long with companion animal rescue and welfare, and what we were part of in that collaboration was one of the most meaningful things we've done ever, because the euthanasia problem is such a huge one, and spay, neuter, and wellness is such an important answer. So we're pleased to do that. Now, time to turn the page. Last year, anybody that was here, we added a new piece to our event, and that was a baseball panel. And we had some fun with it, so we're gonna do it again. So I'm gonna introduce 4 of the players, and they're gonna come out and we're gonna watch, and then one by one, we're gonna show some videos about their career. And after all 4 have been introduced that way, then we'll sit down and talk a little bit. So the first one I'd like to introduce was a teammate in 1986. And most of the fans know more about us as competitors and teammates, but please welcome the soon-to-be Cooperstown Hall of Famer, Dusty Baker. Now that was 86, so in 87, we added someone that really changed the way we ended up winning games, Dennis Eckersley. See, that 86 club was loaded because the rookie of the year turned out to be Jose Canseco. And then, you stop and think about it. 3 of these 4 guys were on that 86 club. And he wants me to introduce him as Dave Smokey Robinson Stewart. We're gonna get right into it, and we're gonna start with Dusty. So, fellas, when this happens, you guys can stand up because you want to see what each of you has to do. Oh, everybody wants to see the guy. Give respect. Right. So the idea is, what? You know, if he hadn't sung so pretty, I wouldn't let him get away with that. All right. So the idea, we got video on everybody, and it ends up with each guy having an explanation to make, or anytime they can jump in. So the first thing you're going to see is Dusty in the batter's box in a historic event.
Henry Aaron in the second inning walked and scored. He's sitting on 7-14. Here's the pitch by Downey. Swinging. There's a drive into left center field. That ball is going to be out of here. It's gone. It's 7-15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron. The fireworks are going. Henry Aaron is coming around third. His teammates are at home plate, and listen to this crowd.
The second video is a little bit of explaining. I'm like a commentator. You know, there's a popular perception that the worst players make the best managers. And for example, my first job in AA, I was introduced by the farm director. He said, if you've heard this, worst players make the best manager, this young man's got a chance to be an outstanding manager. It's not funny. My first game, you know, manager, the moves you make in the bullpen, and Paul Richards was one of the experts, and he always told us, if you're going to survive, you've got to make a move ahead of the damage. Not afterwards. So I'm watching, and we have a second and a third. We need one out to win the games in Chattanooga. And I see the pitcher, his fastball is just kind of nothing and breaking ball nothing. So I said, man, this is what we talked about. I got to make this move. I go out there, bring a guy in, get to a base hit, we lose. I'm sitting in the clubhouse, and man, I wonder what he thought about my decision. And he says, boy, you may be a better player than I thought you were. And my point of bringing all this up is that the great man named George Kissel one time gave us the gospel. It's not whether you are a really bad player or a really great player. The key is, do you love the game and do you learn it? And a great example is Johnny B. Dusty Baker. Now watch his playing career here at one shot here. Player, and then he went in managing, and as you know, I just said a year or two from now, he's in Cooperstown. He's had that kind of managing career, and it's been a record for the number of times he takes teams to the playoffs, and then he had his magic moment in the World Series.
42,958 seats sold for this game. No one's using their seat right now. And the pitch is lifted to right by Castellanos. Long run for Tucker, over toward the line, and foul territory. Makes the catch, and the Houston Astros do it again. 2022 World Series champions. Dusty Baker making his way out into the fray. A champion for the first time as a manager, Dusty Baker.
Dusty's last one is probably the most misunderstood replay that you can see. If you think of it, we were teammates in '86. A lot of times we competed. He was in one league, I was in the other one. Only time we had a problem is we were in the same division. So here's a highlight that came up in Wrigley Field one day that's been really misunderstood.
2-0 is our score as we head to the bottom of our third inning of play. And that's not surprising. You know this coming at one point or another. Both benches have been warned. The Cardinals have had enough of getting spun around. And now Dusty starts to holler at Tony Russa. Dusty's asking Russa to come out and talk about it. They've had their share of shouting matches. Remember the playoffs last year.
And Dusty most unhappy, as you would expect. That should be the end of that. And we'll go from there. Probably not deciding where they're going to have dinner. Those of you who are being Lipsy saying I'm not having a fine time.
I want you to I think we said. I said to Dusty, where are you having dinner tonight?
In-N-Out Burger.
I said, you should eat pizza.
And you don't tell me what to eat.
And she can read lips, is that what you?
Sir, with all due respect, that's not the way I read. And I think the audience is too nice for me to repeat what you
Well,
said.
you know, that's what my mother told me too, because my mother, she says, I read your lips, don't be cursing on TV. And I'm like, Mama, I wasn't cursing. She goes, I knew your lips before you knew your lips.
Okay, we'll just leave it at that. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, now here's, I think the truth of it is, we both learned we had a responsibility to protect our players. And in doubt, you protect your family, not the other guys, and that's whenever we had an issue.
Tony,
Yes,
the
sir.
thing that you didn't tell the people is that you got me sent down on the Braves in 1971. You don't remember they cut me and they kept you? And see, I never forgot that. No, I'm kidding. But that was the truth, though.
No, that's the truth. You know who's forgot it? The Braves. Because here's a guy, you know, he could make Cooperstown on his playing career. My highlights were a pinch hit for the A's and scoring a run in the last game I ever played. The rest of it is forgettable, but I will say, you know, there's a thing about stats, they'll admit to anything if you push long enough. You check the book. I am a lifetime 286 hitter in the National League.
How many at bat you have?
I was 0 for 4, and I played the last day with 2 for 3. All right, now we'll switch to Eck, right? Now we're going to Eck. Let's see what we got. Eck. Oh, Eck was a starting pitcher of All-Star, and he had one particularly historic day.
It was Memorial Day. We got one run in the first, and I had to make that thing hold up. And I was dealing that night. I really was.
The score was tight, 1-0. The tension hung on each pitch. Baseball can't get much better than this.
The last inning, I got 2 outs, and Gil Flores was up. And the photographer guy kept running out by the coach's box and was like setting up his camera. Well, he was bothering Gil Flores, and I'm chomping at the bit. This is the last out. And he's taking his time. I went off. I said, hey, they're not here to take your picture. You're the last out. Get the in there. And then I punched him out.
Strike 3. It's a no-hitter. How about that?
So his 20-game winner, no hitter. Then he comes to the A's, and the great pitching coach Dave Duncan made him a closer. And Dave and Eck reinvented. When you had a really good team and you had a really good closer, the more off-teams available, more games you win. So we only pitched him most of the time 3 outs, so he could be ready. But there is a time where it's so important that he did pitch more. And we're going to give you one. 1988, first game of the ALCS. We're in Boston. So it's the first time we won our division. And we're playing in Boston. And we had a 1-run lead going into the bottom of the 8th inning. And they had got Jim Rice. And they had all the big bombers. So brought in Eck to try to get 6 outs. He went 1, 2, 3. And now we've got 3 outs to get the 9th. First 2 guys make out. Jody, Reed hits a double, and this guy walks. So the tying run is on second base. And who comes up but Wade Boggs?
We got a full crowd here in Boston, Eatontown. Such tradition, the Green Monster. 2-1 in the 9th inning. Eckersley went out. I love it. And who would you like to add to the plate? Any more so than Wade Boggs if you're the Red Sox. And here he comes. Runners at first and second, 2 out.
Canseco. That's a strike on White Dogs. Strike two.
And you see Eckersley thinks that his fastball is his best pitch in this situation. He's going right to it.
This guy has 2 strikes on him. He's the best 2-strike hitter in baseball.
Here we go. 0-2. Foul back. Boy, just kept that one off the end of the bat.
Here's an opportunity again for Boggs. League's leading hitter, baseball's leading hitter at 366.
He struck him out. Taking a 1-game-to-none lead in the American League Championship Series. As Eckersley again coming through down the stretch.
And Tony, real quick, I want to make a comment. So you see me there, I remember playing right field. And the only thing I'm thinking is, please don't hit it to me. Please don't hit it to me, and you'll see why later on. True story.
See, the key was I wasn't worried about them hitting off that, so I'll just let you there. So that, you know what, so the fans could yell at, Posey, Posey. So anyway, if you saw him, he got to the big guy and he went, yeah. But he was famous, and this is a commentator. There's so much pressure nowadays in a real magical moment where a hitter and a pitcher, like say Dusty's facing Eck. Dusty gets a hit, they win, Eck feels like crap. Eck gets him out, he celebrates. It's up to the magic of the moment. But you see now, guys, they celebrate everything, no matter how, they wanted to go out there and look at me, look at me. But this, in my opinion, we've talked about it. We were together in 1996, the first year we were in St. Louis. We won the first 2 games, we were playing the Braves. On the first 2, now we're down in Cardinals, bottom of the 8th, Dimitri Young hits a triple, now we up 1 run, and out comes Eck. Now you tell them what happened.
What led to that, first of all, you're talking about the Atlanta Braves in '96. And this is a great team. They won the World Series in '95. And they're all about Smoltz, Glavine, Maddox, and pretty much those 3, right? Right, so we're in game 4, is what you're talking about. We're up 2 games to 1. If we win this game, we're up 3 games to 1, okay? This is huge. We got to run in the bottom of the 8th, so the top of the 9th is like, that's a hard save. That's a hard save, because you can't blow this, you know what I'm saying? First guy up, Jermaine Dye hits a double, lead-off double, here we go, you know? And I've got the bungie, because I'm 42 years old, I'm not featuring, 99, got it? I'm an old cat. So I get the next 2 outs, and Grissom comes up, okay? And I used to give a fist bump, and I had, got a hard time with a lot of players, didn't like it then, not like now. But anyway, this leads to this last out.
So he gets Grisham out, we're up 3 games to 1, 1 more to win, we get the series. Grisham gets a base hit, scores tie. I want you to watch after this.
Yesterday, he split the corner 0-2, trying to do it again.
A ball and 2 strikes on Russa. Ball game.
The only problem we have right there is Smoltz, Glavine, and Maddox. So we went up. You'd think we would. Don't party too soon is the story there, because they won the next 3 games and we went home. So, but when you're 42 years old, I've already learned that lesson.
I think my point is, when you've got that kind of pressure, and you do something like get the hit or get an out, if you care, you have that emotion of yeah. And at that time, be up 3-1. I mean, the whole team was around the mound celebrating like we won it, which is not cool. I think
what leads to this ultimately at that point in my career, like I said, I was older, is that I had the opposite of that. You know, we can all go back to Gibson, you know, and living with that for so long. And so when somebody goes deep like that in the 9th inning, I mean, hooray for you and too bad for me. So what leads up, the pressure gets more and more and more the longer you play in great situations. So if I can't go like that, I don't know when I can.
All right, next we go to number 33. So here again, I got fired by the White Sox, I got hired by the A's. Our first, you know, Duncan and I got fired and we both go to the A's, 1986 June. On that team, Dusty, Jose rookie year, and Stu. Stu's in the bullpen, released twice. The first game we played was in Boston against Clemens. Stu facing Clemens, run the first one. This by Jose.
New manager Tony Russa watches his club for the first time.
Long toward left field, high and deep and gone. 2-run homer, Jose Canseco, and it's 5-1 Canseco's 20th home run. He has 2 RBIs more to his league-leading credit. He's got 70 now. That ball really, they put a charge into that one.
All right. Leading up to this one, this is probably the thing that irks. I know it irks him, probably everybody, or not. The game today, where whoever makes the decision saying, swing for your butt 3 times, try a home run, no matter who's on base, no matter what the score is, forget about putting the ball in play. The better the pitcher, the harder it is to hit that home run. So putting the ball in play, and here's 1988, the year he became the MVP, broke a record with stolen base home run. We had a great coach named Jim Lefevre, and he had this drill to make everybody a 2-strike hitter, where you really got up and you just got to let the ball travel and you just had a quick hit. The year he hit 40, how many? 40?
Yeah, 1988, it's 40, yes.
44?
Yeah, it was 42 home runs and 40 stolen bases.
Now here's the point, and what you're going to see here. Jose loved this drill, and most of the guys were here, and they hit line drive. Jose would get the stick because the ball was jumping. And in back practice, I mean, he did this drill, he did a home run. And there were times he got funky, and he'd tell the fielder, let's go work on this drill. So what you're going to see is the 1980 version of what a winning hitter should look like, trying to hit the ball at line drive, and if he hits it good and he's strong, you hit more. Check it out.
Count of 2-2 on Canseco. Weiss at third, Phillips at first, and they're 2 down. Here's a high drive to deep left center field. Move over record book line. Here's a new man in the RBI column for the Oakland A's. Jose, a member of the 40-40. And now he just sets up a line all of his own. The most RBIs ever in a season for an Oakland A's player. Pretty well to the left field. You can chalk up number 21 for Canseco. He hit it out of here. And the big guy from Florida has just struck again. Man, did he hit that baseball.
Ball in on him. He tied him up as always. Does not able to extend his arm.
He did not get his arms out on that pitch, but he is so strong and he got the head of that bat out there. It went the other way quickly.
Anderson a short lead. 1-2 pitch.
Well, there was no doubt about that one, and it was just a smooth, easy swing. You can just see how strong Canseco is.
Well, I think they keep on using the comment strong. I wonder why. I don't know. Yeah, I was a little strong. I think as I matured as a hitter, I realized that I didn't have to swing so hard to hit home runs or try to hit a 500-foot home run every single time. So remember in spring training, we did work on this 2-strike approach, And really what two-strike approach is, I told myself, just let the ball travel a little more so you can differentiate between a strike and a ball, break ball, and a fastball, and so forth. I realized that, I mean, people didn't know this, but I used to use, 35-ounce bat, 35, and I was plenty strong to where I didn't have to hit it on the barrel perfectly to hit a home run. So I dedicated myself that year specifically to cutting down strikeouts, making more contact with two strikes. And I think I led the league with, in home runs with two strikes. And my main thing was just let it travel a little more, cut down your swing a little bit, don't be so aggressive. Try to put some type of barrel on the baseball, and it worked out great for me.
If you watch, real short stride, short swing, because the ball's getting, I mean, it's classic, and that's not what you see today, and it's not good baseball. But there's one more, and the one more is because Jose said it was okay to show it.
There's a big story behind this one, so we'll go ahead and show it first, and then you guys can laugh, and I'll tell you the story.
High fly ball right field deep. Canseco back to the track. Look it up. He is off his head. Canseco to the top of the he went over the fence. David Hall's laughing out there, so it must hit something funny. It either hit his head or his shoulder. Let's take a look at it. Martinez, fourth home run of the year.
Hit my shoulder.
And Canseco goes back to the wall. He looks like he's checking the wall. He's checking the ball. Checking the wall, and the ball reaches up. It's right there.
Number one blooper in the world.
Great things, but that shot will live forever.
Yeah, I don't know. Country Baker's laughing over here, but in '86 he was with us, and you were an outfielder, and I was watching you play outfield. So the story behind this was, I think I've only told this story about 4 or 5 times. I don't know how many of you were here last year, but this is a true story. The night before, myself, Rafael Palmero, and Julio Franco went out, and there was no restaurants open, so we ended up eating at a Hooters. No, baseball players. We went in there, and our server was this gorgeous girl. Her name was Jessica. I invited her to the game. She came the next day, and the ball hits off my head. So once this thing hits off my head, it's funny because as I turned and looked at my center fielder, David Holtz, he was on one knee laughing. And I look at him and I go, oh my God. Then that's when I realized this ball hit off my head and went over the fence. And the fence is tall, I'm 6'4", so this thing must have ricocheted 10, 12 feet up in the air. The only thing I'm thinking right then and there, I'm a very young kid, I'm thinking, I met this beautiful girl, oh my gosh, she's never gonna talk to me again. She's gonna think I'm a doofus. There's no way she's probably not even gonna be here after the game, she's gonna run. So, of course, when I get to the dugout, players are just looking at me like, they don't even want to say anything to me, they don't want to talk to me. They're in total awe and shock of what just took place. Of course, the game ends and we lose by, I think, a home run off my head. And I got to deal with the media. Oh my, so dealing with the media, that was another traumatizing event. So now, as I deal with the media, I take a shower, we eat our food there, and I walk out of the clubhouse. The girl that I met, Jessica, is there, and she says to me, what happened out there? And I said, well, and I was just kind of messing around. She kind of believed. She goes, well, when that happens, when I hit a ball off my head over the fence, it's an assist. I get the home run. And I kid you not, she fell for it, and I married her. She said, oh my God, okay, that's great. She knows much about baseball, so I ended up marrying her. Hence, I had a daughter, Josie, my supermodel daughter, Josie. It didn't work out. I got remarried again, of course, about a week ago. But that is a true story, and I went probably that year, for the rest of the year, having to deal with the media. Everywhere we went, I think our next series was in New York or series after that. Imagine when I went to play in front of the Yankee fans in right field, which are the worst fans in the world in right field, everybody came with a helmet, with a baseball glove to their hat. Every time I go to get a fly ball, either down the line, down the foul territory, they're throwing drinks at me, they're throwing water at me. Oh, I had to deal with that. Till today, of course, number one blooper in the world, so.
So he called me and asked me, I said, yeah, I think you get credit for that home run. All right, last but not least, Stu. And as I said, the first game that we were together at Duncan night, Doc said, Stu's the guy. And he went on, we think it's a legitimate Hall of Fame career. But that first game, he won 6 innings, beat Clemens. Clemens with 11-1 the rest of his career, couldn't beat us. And 2 other pitchers, Van Olen and Bear, that finished the game. So Clemens got beat with 3 guys that had been released. And he never got over it. You'll see that towards the end of the thing. But the first one is a historic start for Dave in Toronto as an 8.
Here we go to the bottom of the 9th inning. Stewart has retired 23 in a row. He walked the first 2 batters he faced here tonight, Felix and Fernandez. Felix was caught stealing. Fernandez was stranded. Swing and a miss on a fastball up and out of the strike zone. Stewart is 2 outs away. Mookie Wilson to face Stewart. After those 2 walks, nobody has been on base. He has retired 24 in a row. Swing and a miss, number 25, and he is 1 out away. That's 4 strikeouts in a row and 12 in the ballgame. He'll now have to deal with Tony Fernandez.
No, and the other thing he's going to have to deal with working from the stretch, something that he hasn't done since the first inning.
It's been better than 2 hours since he's had to work from the stretch. Fly ball center field. Dave Henderson makes the call. A no-hitter for Dave Stewart. In complete control and dominated Toronto.
That started a run of consecutive 20-win seasons. And this is the 4th one.
Dave Stewart, 1 strike away from win number 20. Pitch. Ground ball back up the middle, cut off by Gallego, and Dave Stewart has
4 straight. You know, how many times do you think Stu won the Cy Young in those 4 years? As many hits as I got most of my career. 0. This was such an example when you're on the East Coast, the media there, a lot of stuff that happens on the West Coast. They don't get it, and they don't care. They're going to promote their guy. He got screwed at least twice. It was Clemens most of the time. I mean, let's not get into that, but the other thing that is there for him, and this is, if you look at the credentials in history of pitchers who have been successful in the postseason, you make the list of the historic ones, you'll find Dave Stewart's name. Yeah. He was He was the earthquake series. He was the MVP of the '89 World Series. And now we're going to show you what he did in Toronto in the championship series.
Dave Stewart, the best postseason pitcher in American League Championship Series history.
Soft wire, Alomar has it, doubled up at second is Karkovice, and the Jays are out of the inning. 7 complete in Chicago. Toronto still clings to a 1-run lead. Cito Gaston just said, good job to Dave Stewart, who leaves the mound on a yield of 2 runs and 4 hits, and the runner on first is his. We'll tell you about the reliever when we come back.
So I just saw Cito. Cito won 2 World Series in a row. And I'm not sure if I mentioned before about it doesn't matter if you're a bad player or a great player. I mentioned this. I'm not sure I mentioned you got Joe Torre, you got Don Baylor, you got Mike Socha. We love the game and want to learn it. I want to make sure I mention that. All right, and this is one that we have some fun with. Mention the success of the A's and Stu against Clemens. So we're going to let Stu, why don't you talk about it before we even see it, and you can see kind of the punctuation mark.
Well, the clubhouse manager for the visiting side, Mikey Thalbin, and I got our relationship dates back a long time. As a matter of fact, his wife Janine is here. Stewie, he named his son Stewart Robert Thalbin after myself and Bobby Welch. And I don't know if you guys are out there, and if you want to stand, but please do. Janine and Stewie. Can't sing. I think they just came to hear me sing and they left. So, they're here?
Yeah, they're.
Okay. So, we're in the playoffs, and Roger and the Boston and Journal, they are struggling to beat us in season and in the playoffs. So, Mikey calls me. I'm pitching against Roger. This is a must-win for Boston. Mikey calls me and he says, Stu, he says, this guy's going nuts. I said, what are you talking about? He says, this guy's got eye black and he's wearing it like his war pin. He's prancing in the clubhouse like a tiger that's caged. I said, really? He said, yeah, man, you won't believe this guy. He says, you got to see this. I said, do me a favor, Mikey. When he gets ready to go down, let me know. He said, call me over in the clubhouse, let me know. And I'm gonna go down to the bottom before he gets to the bottom. In our old ballpark, if you look across, I'm like from here to a little bit past Dusty, I can see the opposing player coming down to the field. So I want to get there before Roger. So Mikey calls, he says he's on his way down. So I run down, and now I'm at the bottom, I'm peeking, I'm waiting for him, he still hasn't come. I'm peeking, he still hasn't come. And I'm peeking, and he finally comes, and I say, hey, Rocket! He doesn't look, he keeps walking, he's going down the stairway to the dugout, and I'm now walking his steps, and I'm still hollering at him, Rocket! And he's still walking. Now he gets to the step before you get to the dugout. I'm right at the same place. And I say, Rocket! He still hasn't said anything. Now he's in the dugout. And I finally say, hey, Roger! And he looks. And I tip my cap. I said, good luck today. So he goes ballistic. He's screaming at me. He's screaming at Bobby Welch, calling us, you name it. He said some stuff I'd never heard before. I'm from East Oakland. So, I mean, he's just going after it, and he goes and he does, his warm-ups. We're in the game. By the third inning, he got kicked out of the game.
I would think that if you have an athlete as special as Roger Clemens, that you would try to do what you could to protect him, to keep him strong, to keep him healthy. I just don't see the point in risking his physical condition for one ball game when the chances of him winning this is not very likely.
That's a pretty harsh assessment by Dave Stewart. Clemens' teammates say he's simply obsessed with wanting to beat Dave Stewart, and he wants the opportunity today.
And that's ball 4. Randolph is on. That's the first ball given up by Clemens. A's with runners on first and second. That's McGuire at second, Randolph at first. And Terry Cooney arguing with Tony Pena, and Joe Morgan gets into the fray now. And you don't often see a manager get thrown in the playoff for a series.
I mean, Morgan is livid, and I'm wondering whether he's ejected Clemens.
The question is, did Terry Cooney throw out Roger Clemens?
Clemens is coming after Cooney because I think he just realized Cooney has ejected him.
The umpire asked him 3 times, "What did you say?" And he repeated the same thing 3 times. So my question to you, the audience, did he really want to be in that game?
You know, the PS was the left-hander Hurst pitched the first game against Stu Bader. And then Roger pitched the second game. So Stu was pitching with 4 days of normal time. So Roger was pitching a day short. They put him, that's why Stu said, you know, why risk the guy when he couldn't have beat him? But, so he was pitching a day short. And he wanted out of there. And I think we were all young, throw him out. Anyway, that's,
I do have to say this, though, looking at that interview, it's funny the things that you don't remember saying in interviews. I didn't remember that.
you don't remember all the time you said, why did he take me out?
I do remember that.
Hey, Tony, I'm gonna ask Stu, does he remember, we were on the Dodgers together, right? So Stu's a little rookie. And so I think he won 15 games in the minor leagues that year. We're in spring training. And this is the first time I ever met Stu. So he comes to me, he goes, hey man, you know, I've been in the big leagues then probably 5 years, 6 years almost. So he's like, hey man, what are you doing with my number? I said, what are you talking about? He goes, well, you got my number on. I said, this ain't your number, this is my number. I said, you little rookie punk, you better go back over. So he said, that's okay, man. I'm gonna wear number 48 because I'm 4 times better than you. I'm gonna 4 times. And that's why. Did you wear 48 still wore 48?
But now that we're talking about this, the very next day, Bake says, hey man, you like Southern cooking? I said, yeah. He says, man, you need to come by the house, man. My wife gonna make, she's from Louisiana, she gonna make some food. You come by the house. Went by his house, had dinner, and let me use his truck. I mean, he became my best friend after that.
You know, but I like that. You know, like I like his attitude. And another story. Jose, do you remember? We were in Oakland. No, we were in LA. And so we stayed on Wilshire Boulevard. So Jose, my boys come pick me up from Riverside, my homeboys. So Jose said, hey man, can I go with you? And I said, no man, you can't go. I says, you need to go to your room. He says, please man, please let me go. I said, I told you no. So I was gonna let him go, but I went around the corner, me and my boys, and I came back and Jose sitting on the
I was a very young rookie back then. Somebody would even talk to me. They didn't talk to me.
Hey, sitting on the step like this, like.
Back then, us as rookies, we really had no car. We tried to hang out with the veterans, try to get a ride with them.
Okay, didn't I let you hang out with me?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I said, get in, man.
And we went to one of the big dinner parties, you know, that kind of stuff.
He looked like he was gonna cry, you know what I'm saying?
No. I want to ask Stu a question. Stu, do you remember the first time I faced you?
You faced me?
Yes.
No.
Okay, so you were with Toronto. And remember I played off, okay, well, Stu's won 20 games in a row. I'm thinking, how is he so hard to hit? What's going on? So I faced you. First at bat, you struck me out. Second at bat, you struck me out. I think the third at bat, you struck me out. Then I'm thinking, holy shit, get him out of this game already. They finally took you out. I was like, thank God. Timlin came in. I think he threw one pitch. I hit a 2-run home run to win the game. Do you remember that one?
I do remember.
Oh yeah, now you remember. I learned how this man won 20 games every year with a fork ball that was just unhittable. It was, and I always tried to figure out, wow, how come these guys can't hit Stu? I figured out the hard way, all right. Thank God they took you out.
He didn't have to play right field for me most of the time, so he was witnessing it, but he didn't believe it.
Yeah.
Stu, I remember a story about you because about the 20-win seasons. Well, I don't know what year it was, but you're up for your 20th, remember? And I'm pitching the 9th inning. This is tough, man, pitching the 9th inning. Somebody's going to win their 20th. Because you want to mess this up. Remember, what's his name? Vaughn? What's the guy? Greg Vaughn.
Greg Vaughn.
I think he was with Milwaukee. 2-1 game. Yeah. He goes bridge. 2-2. I give up, you know. So I know there's champagne waiting for you, right? And then we score 1 in the 9th to win. Yay! You know, serious vulture win. But that wasn't it. The next start, we go to Cleveland. Jacoby, 9th inning again, 1 run, champagne and the thing. I give up a shot, a home run to Jacoby 2 times in a row. And he goes, and then we won again. And Stu says to me, the guy is, it's okay, my ass. Never forget it, man. You don't forget it, man, and you still ended up winning 20.
Yeah. It's just that in August 1st, I was at 19, and by September 15th, I won 20. Not your fault, though, X. It's his fault.
Stu had one of the greatest mothers ever. Mama Stu, everybody loved her. And tell us fast. So he's a football player in high school.
Yeah.
And then became a catcher late. The Dodgers drafted him. Tell him what happened when you go to camp.
So I got drafted. Didn't know I got drafted. My sister Carolyn's not here, but she had got me a job at the Boys and Girls Club. It was Boys Club at that time on 87th and East 14th, the Austin Car Club. And so 2 weeks after the draft, hadn't heard from anybody. I did some college visits for football, and I went to, back then, Oklahoma, Nebraska. Those were like the big colleges. And so I went out there. I graduated from high school at 5'10", 190, but I was a linebacker, rated one of the best linebackers, high school linebackers in the country. And so I go to Nebraska, and, they take me around, and guys are 6'5", 6'6", 270. And so, I spent the weekend there, and then I go to Oklahoma, same thing, 6'7", 6'8", 260, 270. And USC, which is the school, everybody wants to go to, not as big, but big guys, and I'm, 5'10". So I get home, and my mother says, well, how was your trip? And she could see I was discouraged. And I said, I don't know if I can play college football. I said, I hope something happens in baseball. So the draft comes, 2 weeks happen, boom. Finally, I get a call 2 weeks later and go to a tryout. I pitch and I catch. I was a high school catcher, by the way. Pitch and I catch. And they end up signing me another couple of weeks later, and they send me to Bellingham, Washington. So I'm up in Bellingham, and I get there. I got my catcher's gear, and Bill Barrier is my manager. And Bill Barrier, he says, well, what do you have all that stuff for? I said, I'm a catcher. He said, well, you're not going to catch here. I said, what? He said, you're not going to catch here. I said, what do you mean I'm not going to catch? He said, we've drafted 3 catchers in front of you. You're not going to catch here. I said, well, what am I going to do? He says, you're going to pitch. I said, pitch? I never pitched before. I pitched a couple of games in high school. I've never pitched before. I said, I'm not pitching. He said, yeah, you're going to pitch. I said, no, I'm not going to pitch. So he says, okay, let's put it simple. Either you're going to pitch, or we're going to... He said, by the way, how did you get here? I said, I took a plane to Portland, and I took a puddle jumper from Portland to Bellingham. He says, guess how you're going home? I said, how? He says, let's put it like this, there's a dog on the side of the bus. So I said, you know what? I'm going to call my mother. So I get in, I ask him, can I use your phone? I go in his office, and I say, you guys hear my voice. I said, Mom? She said, yes, son. I said, they tricked me. She said, what do you mean they tricked you? I said, I thought I was going to get a chance to catch. They're going to make me pitch. She said, well, what are you going to do? I said, I don't want to come home. She said, well, la-di-da. I said, la-di-da? She said, son, you wanted to play baseball, and it was blue, 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 this, and I want to do this, and I want blah, blah, blah. She said, well, you got a chance to do it. She said, so you can come home, but you ain't coming here. That's how I ended up pitching.
Well, I mean, between the guy that gave stories forever, and has a lot of careers, a lot of success. All I know is I'm going to highlight that I took Dusty's spot on that Braves roster, and I'm a lifetime 286 hitter in National League. But anyway, we can go on forever, but we got some music waiting for you.
I gotta tell you, stories, everybody's told a story about everybody but you. So, we're in Minnesota. His memory's gonna be better than mine, but we got a chance to win. I think it's in the 87th season. We got a chance to win. And we go to Minnesota and we stink it up. So the old Minnesota clubhouse, first of all, you gotta climb, God, it seemed like eternity. It seemed like from the field to the clubhouse, you've gone from hell to heaven. That's how steep those stairs were. And it's a small clubhouse. So the guy sets up the meal, and it's right in the middle of the clubhouse. Right in the middle of the clubhouse. But it's close to everybody. The clothes are this is getaway day. So we end up losing the game. He comes upstairs, choice words, pacing, blah, 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 blah. He tosses the food, he tosses the table, tosses the food. Gravy, food.
You were wearing it.
All over everybody's clothes. Poor Carney took the brunt of it. Carney had gravy, green beans, chicken, dressing, you name it, it was all over Carney's stuff. That's not the first time he did it. That was the worst time he did it. But I'm telling you what, many times, what are you guys doing in the clubhouse? Get out of the clubhouse. Close the clubhouse. We're not eating you. If you play like this, you don't deserve to eat.
You talking about Cito?
I'm talking about Tony LaRussa, Anthony LaRussa.
I will say this. I did do that. A couple of times, but you know what I learned? And there's a story about Eric Davis, who's a great veteran, who was with our team in St. Louis. What you learn is who pays for that? The clubhouse guy. I mean, you make it, that time, it was such a small one that it got on the guy's clothes, and I felt bad about it. Not that bad, I just bothered me. And then when they got a little mouthy, I had Duncan Dave McKay around me. So anyway, what you learn is that the clubhouse got to clean it all up. So, so I put in, if you don't compete, you don't eat. So if you watch a game and we just didn't show up, and you think, just try hard and they beat you, you tip the cap, but don't compete, you don't eat. So we were playing Detroit and they were bad and the Cardinals were good. And we go on a Saturday and it killed us. We didn't do anything, so I said, man, this is one of those days. So I walked in the clubhouse real quick. Eric's on the team. And I told Johnny Nelson there, I said, hey man, close the door. No compete, no eat. Put a lot of water out there. And I went in there and I said to the guys, I said, fellas, this is embarrassing. You know the rule, no compete, no eat. Saturday in Detroit. I said, I hope you go to a restaurant and you have to wait forever to eat. Because that was embarrassing, all right? Here's the punchline. Next day, Sunday, coach comes in. He says, you gotta go in the clubhouse, check Eric Davis' locker. So I go in there, and Eric Davis had a paper bag, brown paper bag. And I said, ED, what is that? He said, Skipper, if these assholes don't compete today, ED got a sandwich, he's gonna eat. Look the clubhouse up. Eric Davis one of those letters you take forever. But anyway, folks, I hope you appreciate some of the stories, and there's much more. Maybe we'll save them some next year. But Dusty's going to manage in the WBC.
I'm managing for Nicaragua. I really am. I'm going to Nicaragua if they allow us to go.
They got talent?
No, we'll see.
All right, well, folks, we're going in with some fine music. So next.